Thank you for joining me for tonight's live. My name is Djanie, and if you're here joining me, say hi, let me know that you're here, and also let me know if you can hear me, because we don't want those technicalities to prevent us from having our discussion today about relaxers. My name is Djanie. I am an advanced hair, scalp and skin practitioner in Leicester, and I engage in activities to help people debunk issues that is going on with their scalp, their skin and their hair. Hi Mac, thank you for joining. Can you hear me? Is everything okay? I think I should appoint Mac as a moderator for me, because he's quite good. So if you can hear me and you can see me, then we shall continue. So I am wanting to discuss some things to do with relaxers today. I'm continuing with the relaxer discussion because it is important, very important. So I was saying that I help people to debunk the issues they have with their hair and scalp and their skin. I help them by showing them ways, practical ways to effect change in their processes at home to help them have the skin or the hair and the scalp that they're looking for. I also help professionals in perfecting their ways within their own systems, within their own structures, within their businesses, to give out the best service that they can possibly provide to their clients. I also just do normal preventative things. Now that's my sweet spot. That's the area that I love the most, where I am helping people in preventing things that they do not want. So preventing their hair from being damaged, or their scalp from being or experiencing discomfort in their scalp, or perhaps having some skin issues that they do not want, they don't desire. So the idea of my preventative measures are just so that you don't have to treat, you can perhaps prevent. As they say, prevention is better than cure, and so that is where I come in. Yesterday I discussed what the important factors are when you are dealing with relaxers, and why you should choose to have a professional relaxer as opposed to one that you purchase from the store in a box, and what the importance of that is to you as the person receiving the treatment. I looked at where the professional positives are and where the non-professional negatives are, so that you can better understand. There we are again, flies. So that you can better understand why you should be selecting or choosing to have a professional treatment when you're using such a product. So I'm just going to start quickly by saying that I am not your GP. I am not a GP. I'm not a doctor. Everything that I discuss here is for educational purposes. It's for you so that you can know what it is that happens within this field, within this industry, and so that you can be better informed in helping yourself access the treatments that you want, the treatments that you feel that you need, and so you can be well educated on the matter. And so when you're sourcing these treatments, or you're selecting or choosing the partnership within the professional space, whoever you're choosing to work with, you know how to choose them and what to expect when you have chosen the person that you wish to work with. And then when they're conducting these treatments, how to pinpoint and perhaps look out for signs that can show you a reflection, or an example of their expertise, or how much of a specialist they are in this field. Just really giving you an all-rounder of education to help you make the right decisions. Okay, so I make these videos as though I'm making it for my clients who may or may not have access to me anymore. People move on, they go and live somewhere else, and then the distance becomes prohibitive. We can't meet anymore. And so I decided to do these videos to kind of make it a way for my clients who have come to love the treatments that I give them, but can no longer access it for whatever reason, that they can come on YouTube and be able to look for the advice that I've given them and to jog their memory behind, or to really find the reasons behind the advice that I give them. Today, I want to discuss what you can do to help yourself to have a successful relaxer process. Okay? A hair relaxer process is so dividing. It's such a dividing topic. People do not know where they stand with it. They know they need it. They know they want it. Whatever their reasons are, I am not here to police why people do what they do. I'm just here to help people understand why these products are out there, what the manufacturers are doing, or what they intended for the products to be used as, so that it can be used wisely, so that you can get a more desirable outcome from what it is that you're looking for from a relaxer. Okay, so I do not want a discussion around why people are relaxing their hair, whether they hate their hair, whether they don't like their hair. I'm just really not here to have that conversation. I am just here to educate you on the chemical treatments that are out there within the hairdressing field, what it means to you from a hairdressing perspective, and what it means to you from a trichological area, which is the area that you want to worry about if you're concerned about hair loss and so on and so forth. So hair loss and hair shaft disorders and scalp ailments is what trichological things deal with. So what can you do to help yourself have a successful relaxer process? Okay, so home care is so important. To be able to have the right relaxer outcome, to have a successful relaxer outcome, home care is absolutely pivotal to the success of a relaxer. This is a professional relaxer, okay? And I'm only going to discuss what you do to get your relaxers done professionally. I do not want to discuss what you should be doing at home when you're doing the relaxers at home, because you shouldn't be dealing with relaxers by yourself as a non-professional at home. So that is not what this discussion is about. This is about going to have a professional relaxer, how to ensure that you are having a successful professional relaxer. As much as it is a professional treatment, what we do at home in preparation for the treatment also helps us to ensure that we get the right outcome. We don't want to place the responsibility all on the professional, because I say this to my clients all the time, that if you can imagine, I spend time on your hair, maybe 2 hours or so doing your hair, but the rest of the time, 99.999% of the time, you are at home with your hair. And so what you do with your hair at home really helps in making sure that the treatments that you have within the professional space is successful. Okay, so I want to discuss what you should do to help yourself. You need to prepare yourself for your appointment. You need to know that you are about to have a relaxer. You need to start preparing yourself about 2 weeks before your relaxer, right? So a relaxer is a very caustic treatment. Yeah, it is highly alkaline. And if you want to know what I mean by the pH levels and things like that, then you need to watch my previous video, my previous live, which was just the one before this one. And that will educate you of the potential hydrogens, which is the pH of the relaxers, and where that sits on the pH scale to our skin and water and all that jazz. That's in the previous live. Okay. Now, today I'm just discussing, I'm moving on from there, and I'm saying to you that about 2 weeks before your relaxer, you really need to know, you know that you need a relaxer. You know that you've perhaps had your hair relaxed and you now need the roots to be done. You need the roots to be retouched. So you're fully aware of this. 2 weeks beforehand, you should start making preparations. This is the best thing you can do for yourself. Pardon me. So you will have been washing your hair every 7 to 10 days. That's what I say to people. Really, if you're not cleansing your hair and scalp well, you are not setting yourself up for success in anything to do with scalp care, skin care, or hair care. If you don't get cleansing right, you will not get any of these 3 caring elements right. That component in hair, scalp, and skincare is so important. Cleansing is fundamental. So you will have been cleansing your hair every 7 to 10 days at the very bare minimum. Okay, some people will wash their hair and cleanse their scalp every 7 days. Some people might do it every 3 to 5 days, but truly, at the very least, every 7 to 10 days should be the least that you do. What that does is it helps to prevent your scalp from scalp ailments. It helps to prevent scalp ailments. It helps to remove those parasites that live on our scalp that ordinarily would feed off certain things that we either add to our hair and scalp, which you shouldn't be doing, by the way. You shouldn't be adding grease or anything to your hair and scalp. But if we're not cleansing often enough, we find that these parasites, Demodex parasites, go in and they burrow into the hair follicle, and they eat the sebum and any added things that we have added to our scalps. So it's important that we learn how to cleanse our hair. So 7 to 10 days, once every 7 to 10 days. So prior to your relaxer, you will have been cleansing your scalp way in advance. From the last time you had your relaxer, this should have been your home care. I'm so sorry to be going on about this, but truly, it is so important. So cleansing your scalp well, making sure that you're using the right products for your scalp. I have got videos on that. Please go and check them out. Using products that are formulated to remove dirt, grime, mildew, product buildup, minerals from water, metallic salts and things like that from the hair and scalp is so important in helping us have the right foundation for relaxers. Because if you don't remove these things, you leave your scalp in a state of disrepair. It just will feel uncomfortable. You would be scratching your scalp. You would feel that your scalp is tight. It is not a happy microbiome of a space in your scalp it has its own microbiome. It's just a lovely space that if you leave it alone and you do what it needs, it can function and do all the things that it needs to do. But if you don't, you will find out the hard way. And scalp issues really does make your life miserable. When your scalp is tight, flaky, itchy, it makes your life so miserable. So very important that we are mindful of cleansing our scalp. Okay, so immediately before your appointment, you will make sure that you are basing your scalp. That means that you're using a petroleum substance to base your scalp in preparation for the appointment. Okay, now we are not talking about all the time. We're talking about what you do immediately before your appointment. Okay. So this could be 24 hours before your appointment. You're making sure that you reveal your scalp and you base your scalp with a petroleum substance. So Vaseline, for example, could work. Any sort of petroleum gel will work. So 24 hours before your appointment this is what you do. You don't do it any sooner, because what you then suffer with is buildup. And then you'll end up having a scalp problem if you're doing it sooner. You shouldn't ordinarily be doing anything to your scalp except for this time. The free relaxer home care program. This is what you do. Okay. So you base your scalp with something that is of petroleum gel like, and you make sure that it's fragrance free. It is neutral in fragrance, and that you are basing your scalp, you're basing your hairline, you're basing the tops of your ears, right? The nape, your hairline at the back, the nape of your hair, and making sure that the entire scalp area is based properly. Okay, that is the most you can do for yourself. Apart from caring for your hair prior to the appointment, that is the most you can do for your hair and for yourself to have a successful outcome. Now, do not shampoo your hair at least 3 to 10 days prior to your relaxer. So if you're shampooing your hair every 3 days, you would have shampooed your hair today and then perhaps have your relaxer 3 days later. That's fine. If you shampoo your hair every 7 days, you would have shampooed your hair, then you have your relaxer 7 days later. If you shampoo your hair every 10 days, you would have shampooed your hair and then you have your relaxer 10 days later, right? So your very last shampoo or your very last scalp cleanse should happen no less than 3 days before your relaxer treatment, okay? On the day of your relaxer, do not go to the gym. And there's reasons behind this. We're talking about things that give the relaxer an uneven treatment. We're thinking about things that will accelerate the rate of the relaxer processing, right? And we're talking about things that will just bring you such discomfort. So going to the gym means that you would have worked out, your scalp would have sweat, maybe. If you sweat in the scalp, that will happen. But even if you don't sweat in the scalp, at the very least, what you have done is you have vasodilated. So you have dilated your blood vessels towards your scalp. So I'm going to bring my model on just to talk about this. So this is the dermis of the skin. This is the epidermis of the skin. So in the dermis of the skin, we've got blood vessels, okay? That's where the sensory nerve endings live here. And so does the blood vessels. Those are the blue and the red lines that we see, okay? This is your hair follicle. So we know that we have got blood running, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood running right in the dermis of the skin, okay? And that's all over your skin, including the scalp. And so if you've worked out, you've been to the gym, sometimes people notice that when they've been to the gym, the veins of their arms and legs and feet and so on and so forth swells. And that is because there is something happening called vasodilation. Your blood vessels are dilated, and so you've got nutrients and oxygen and things running and working at their most optimum level, and that happens to the scalp too, and it can warm the area up, which is also what happens when we're sweating. You start to warm up and so on and so forth. And so when you warm up, you're warming up the scalp too. And when your blood vessels are dilated, they are also dilated in the scalp too. And so the sensory nerve endings, these are the the nerves that actually respond to touch and sensation and so on and so forth. When you're getting your hair relaxed, you don't want to aggravate your sensory nerve endings. You don't want to wake them up more so than they would be, because then they will respond to the relaxer, right? So you'll start to feel burning sensation, itching sensation sooner than you would have ordinarily had you not had your sensory nerve endings, sort of activated. So no working out on the day of your relaxer. So don't turn up from the gym. Okay. Another thing you mustn't do is drink very cold water or a very hot drink. Again, we want to make sure that your body temperature is well regulated, and so that we don't end up with scalp burns, so chemical burns. We don't want to end up with a situation where we have got, we say that the top of your head is where you have got the most heat, so right to the top. And so if you're drinking, you're basically regulating your body temperature artificially. We would prefer that your body temperature is stable and not erratic on the day of your relaxer. And also, drinking a hot caffeinated drink, as we know, caffeine is a stimulant. And so that will go into your blood and it will rush around, and it will rush around all over your blood system. And so that would be including the scalp also. Yeah. So we don't want the heat of the drink escaping to the scalp, right? And then the top of your head, which will then also decrease the processing time for us. So we have time that we have to make sure that your relaxer stays on for. So the manufacturer's guidelines will tell you, you keep this product on the hair, or because we are relaxing the hair and not the scalp. But just the sheer principle of the fact of relaxing, you will have some of the relaxer touching the scalp. And so what we don't want to do is decrease that processing time. We have already been given a processing time, say of 15 minutes, 18 minutes, or so on. And so if you have got a caffeinated hot drink, what you will have done is stimulated your blood vessels, right, into action. You've also allowed the heat of the drink to rush to the top of your head. And so the processing time that we have been given by the manufacturer is no longer valid, because your body is naturally going to respond and tell us that you can no longer carry on with the process of the relaxer process. Say we have 15 minutes or we have 18 minutes and you've had a hot drink. You would have drank this on approach to the clinic to get your hair done. And then you get there, you're hot and you're bothered, and we slap on the relaxer. And then what happens is within, 12 minutes or so, your scalp is no longer responding well. And then we have to remove the relaxer. That is not desirable. Okay, so we will have an uneven relaxing process. So we'll have some areas that are over processed, some areas that aren't well processed. The bottom line is we're not getting the desired outcome. What we sought out to do is not being achieved. The manufacturer has set those standards and we need to make sure that this is happening. Okay, now, again, this is to help you have a good outcome with your relaxer. Okay, so what you also won't be doing prior to your appointment is brushing your hair. No combing, no brushing aggressively. You can comb your hair, you can brush your hair, but I'm talking aggressive combing and brushing where you're tugging and pulling at the hair. Again, we don't want that, because what that does, it aggravates the scalp, and then it can increase or decrease the processing time in certain areas of the scalp, right? Again, what you won't be doing is scratching your hair or your scalp. If you're scratching your scalp vigorously and aggressively, you are also going to perhaps start causing tears and scratches and opening up the stratum corneum of the skin. Okay, so you'll be opening up this area of the skin. You'll be scratching, right, and opening that up, and that will start to burn or itch very quickly during the relaxer process. Again, that will be an unwanted outcome. That will also not help in reducing the potential of scalp burns and chemical burns. Right, so no scratching, no aggressive brushing, no aggressive combing, and we do that so that we don't cause irritation to the scalp. Now, the relaxer itself does lighten your hair. It naturally makes your hair appear a little lighter because it is going into the cortex of the hair. It is going into the cortex of the hair to change the bonds of the hair. And so what lives in the cortex of the hair is also the melanocyte cells. This is the melanin generating, the pigment generating cells also live there. Okay? We need to make sure that we are fully understanding what we're doing when we're doing color, right? When we're doing color or when we're doing relaxers, which area of the hair that we are actually shifting things around in. So the cortex of the hair is where the magic happens. That's where the great things happen. I say the melanin lives in the cortex. We know where the melanin is generated. So melanin is generated at the matrix of the hair follicle, but it lives in the cortex of the hair. That's where the color of your hair comes from, which is in the inside of your hair, right? And that cortex is where things happen, where the strength of your hair is, where the integrity of your hair is. And we need to make sure that you understand that your hair color might appear lighter or it may change through the relaxing process. And so that needs to be, you need to be made aware of, because if you go and get your hair colored 2 weeks before your relaxer appointment, you then run the risk of having the color change at the point of your hair being relaxed, which would be a waste of money, a waste of time. And of course, it means that you have to reapply the color again. So the advice is that you wait until you've had your relaxer, and then a couple of weeks later, you can have your color. Okay. So I'm hoping that this is making sense. If you're watching, even if you're not watching me live, that you're watching me on repeat, if it makes sense, please let me know that it's making sense. If not, write a comment or a question and I will go back onto this and answer questions. So this is not it's not the fact that you've missed it and then there's nothing we can do about it. Really, whatever the situation is, I can answer questions for you at a later date. Okay, so you've done all of these things. You are home, you are preparing yourself. You know that really we must be responsible for when we are going to engage in these things, because sometimes we leave the professionals in a state of really incompetence, of the feeling of incompetence, when they have tried everything they can to give you the best, technical and chemical treatments, but then the outcome is not right, or that you end up experiencing issues with your scalp. There are other things that I need to discuss around this, but I'm mindful of the fact that it's a mammoth subject. And so I need to be careful as to how much I say. But I think the takeaway from this is that we just need to be careful when we're dealing with the relaxer. We know about all the things that the relaxer can do to our endocrine system. We know what it can do. This is the trichological aspects of things. We know what it can do in terms of scalp burns. When scalp burns occur, which are also called chemical burns, they start to trigger off hair loss conditions, right? So apart from the fact that you are going to cause yourself an injury by engaging in such a technical treatment at home, you are also going to end up with a long-term effect, which is that you experience hair loss, because it can trigger hair loss conditions such as CCCA. So if you Google CCCA, you'll find out what that is. It's a hair loss condition, which is a scarring hair loss condition, which can be triggered by relaxers. Okay, and that can cause hair loss. But also when you have got scalp burn or chemical burn, you have an open wound that has opened up the epidermis of the skin. It's gone through all these layers. So all these layers of the skin, and it's gone into the dermis. And so it is open and it's wounded and it starts to bleed because it scabs, right? You notice that when you've had a scalp burn from a relaxer, it scabs over. And when it scabs over, it's because it has reached a depth of the skin where there are blood vessels, okay? And that means that if there are blood vessels there, any other thing that is on that skin can be absorbed into the bloodstream. And that will also end up in your system, in your endocrine system, which will cause other issues, fertility issues, reactions, so on and so forth. So it's a very, very delicate matter. The perms and the relaxers and things like that really must be handled by a professional. If you have been unscathed by a relaxer so far, so you have been having relaxers and so on and so forth, but you have not experienced hair loss, or you have not experienced any fertility issues and so on and so forth, that is not your cue to continue misbehaving and doing what you want. Okay? Better late than never, because things can happen at any point in your time, in your life. So if you've been unscathed by it and you've escaped the trauma of what these highly caustic chemical treatments can do to you, if you've heard this video and you've watched this video, it is your cue to start paying attention. To start paying attention and try to limit the possibilities of you experiencing hair loss and also endocrine disrupting issues with these highly caustic chemical treatments. Okay, so we don't want to do these things because we don't want scalp burns. We don't want to start creating sensations in the scalp. We don't want to start causing wounding. We don't want to start we don't want to start causing problems for ourselves in general. And I have to make sure that I mention that a relaxer is not necessarily something that has to be your only option. There are other options for you to have manageable hair. There are reasons why people choose to have relaxers, and that is not a problem. That's fine. You make those decisions yourself. However, there are other alternatives. So if you're watching this video and you're thinking, well, that has scared me, this information that I've heard today has scared me, and so I'm concerned that I am having a relaxer and perhaps I ought to stop. What are my options? What are the options available to me? you can put a comment below and I will answer that and let you know what your options are. But there are several options, if not 2 or 3 more, for you to have the right relaxers or the right hair managing or curl managing options for you to help you manage your hair better. Okay, so all is not lost. All is not lost. I will discuss other alternative to relaxers another time, maybe in part 3, but this is part 2 to the relaxer situation. I'm also mindful of the fact that my month-long live is almost coming to an end, but it's fine. All I'm going to do is make sure that I cover as much as I can in these areas for you. So making sure that we're doing the right thing. If you're being safe and you're doing all the things you possibly can to help yourself get the right treatments for you, you know, you will be in the best position that you possibly can be in. So relaxers aren't to be handled by non-professionals. They are not to be handled by yourself. Okay, they're not to be handled at home, and they're not to be conducted on children, because of the fact that, you know, we have got those foundations of the child's body that is still being matured. That has not happened yet. And so we just at least make sure that you seek advice before you continue. Seek advice from a well-trained professional who engages in continual professional development, who is well educated and can give you the right advice before you engage in these practices. I think I'm going to end tonight's live here. If there are no questions, I think I'm here on my own today, which is not a problem. But if you watch this live later on and you have any questions, pop them in the comments. I still see them, and so I can answer them for you. But I've truly enjoyed this. And so you are now fully aware of what you can and can't do to ensure that you get the right relaxer experience done by a professional, but you have prepared yourself at home prior to your appointment. Okay? So you are helping, you are becoming a helpful partner in the partnership in getting your hair done properly. All right. So on that note, I'm going to say, be kind to yourself, all my love, goodbye and good night.